If Jonathan wants to be there, just perform. I have nothing against anybody. But to say, if I don't win, I will not accept, that is the culture, the bad culture that we inherited from the June 12 crisis. Because now, people are doing it with impunity that if I can't win, then nobody can win.
How much of this do you think is hot air, Cheta? Because I think, because we're used to, I mean, we have a military background. The majority of Nigerians grew up under the military today. Yeah. And we hear all these threats flying around. Do you think people actually mean these things when they say them? This is the build-up of June 12 now, but do you think people actually mean these things when they say them?
Some of it is meant. Some of it, the truth, some of it is braggadocio, just to see how far they can push other people. And if people refuse to be pushed, then they will back down. That's the way I see it. The problem remains the fact that we have developed a culture where you push us, we go. You push, we go. And we get to a point where we're supposed to turn around, we climb the wall. So, you see, in June 12, at the end of the day, one thing that a lot of people don't keep forgetting is the fact that we forced Babangida's hand. We forced him to leave. June 12 was annulled June 27th, 1993. Exactly 2 months later, August 27th, Babangida stepped aside because the situation was too hot for him.
So it's doable.
So it is doable. The problem is, and this is something that is missing now, I still remember very clearly all the Abiola songs from June 12, from June 93. All of them. We've not had an icon since then. One person that all of us will feel convinced, no matter how imperfect he is, because the truth of the matter is that Abiola was way less than perfect. But we've not had an icon that all of us will feel comfortable to rally behind. That has not happened in the last 20 years. Maybe that will happen. It will have to happen at some point. The question is when.
I want to come to you now. One of the sad fallouts from June 12 was the death of Abiola, and there were a lot of controversies about the tea that was drank and all of that. Also, the president of Bola Ige Center for Justice, Bola Ige was also murdered. Till today, we don't know who did that. There's been a chain of that, and even under democracy, it still seems like deaths are almost unresolvable.
Yeah.
What are people like you doing? I mean, you run a Center for Justice.
Yes.
What are people like you doing to help us?
We are trying our best. And, you know, from your first question, I said we have not learned. If we have learned, at least we will have resolved one problem, then another one will have been prevented. Once you left one undone, definitely a series of others will follow up. So that is what we are experiencing. So when the Bola Ige, the Attorney General of the Federation was assassinated, up to today, we are yet to find the killer. What are we then saying? So if many are now coming, even many have gone after Ige, and nobody, you know, do anything about it, because when the bigger one has done and nothing was done, then if the smaller one will follow, people will just be looking at it as a drama. So
I want to ask you now. We people in our age category now have been accused a lot recently of being too comfortable and not doing enough to push government. What do you think we're doing differently? That you were around my age, I want to believe, when June 12 happened, even though you had to go on exile. I mean, anybody who had the opportunity to leave at that time, considering the threats at the time, would leave. What do you think we should be doing differently now? Seeing as a lot of the things happening, I mean, the terrorism in the north, the kidnappings, there are also people around my age doing these things. Is it our fault?
No, the truth is, against all odds, I think the youths of today are more comfortable than you can imagine. And we have a lot of distractions. We're all on social media. Music has grown very big. Movie, very big. Comedy, very big. So we didn't have a lot of those things in those days. So activism was more popular. These days, it will take almost a poverty-stricken fellow to come out. And those of us who have jobs and we're talking, they abuse us every day. Oh, why are you fighting government? Why are you doing this? And I tell people, it's a lot easier for me to praise government and make money. You see, but the thing is, I grew up having a social conscience. What I think is lacking now is that people just believe, look, let me just do whatever I can do. Nigeria is not my father's property. Those who did it yesterday, what did they get out of it? And people begin to justify everything. Each time you complain about Jonathan, people think it is personal. But they always forget that even this Jonathan, before the death of the former president Yaradua, we were the ones on the street. You remember the Enough is Enough rally? Young guys organized that, and we came out to support it. The fuel subsidy riot last year, demonstration rather, we came out to support it. You see, because if you don't challenge a government, then a government becomes tyrannical. If you see what's happening in Turkey right now, the man is doing very well. It's not as if he's not doing well. But they are saying, look, don't treat us as if you are animals. Don't treat us as if Turkey is your personal property. Talk to us like property. So when you challenge a government, it does not mean that you don't like the person who is there. If Nigeria is good, you and I will benefit from it. And the person who will take the glory will be the president. But these days, everybody is afraid. And don't forget that in a place where education has gone down, the quality of education is very bad. People don't even read. I remember when they said they wanted to name Unilag after Abiola, people kicked against it. You can't blame them. Look, any 30-year-old today was only 10 years old when June 12 happened. Any 40-year-old today was only 20 years old at that time. So it's possible that they didn't even know who Abiola was. Otherwise, we should be the ones even begging government to name almost every institution. I mean, Mandela didn't die. Today, he's probably the greatest statesman in the world. Mandela went to prison. So what of a man who died? His wife died. All his businesses collapsed. This was the man who was the biggest of them all in Africa. He lost everything, lost his life, lost his wife, and yet people are fighting over they named something after him. So you can't blame the young ones of today. I believe that at a point, the leaders realized that too much education would always lead to dissent. And they don't want those dissenting voices. So they have to collapse education. Now there are no jobs. People are disgruntled. So you have kidnappers, you have murderers, you have everybody. Because people must survive. It's a natural instinct of man. For me, I don't know where we go from here. But I believe our youth must begin to take more active interest in who governs them. Because it affects all of us. My biggest regret in life is that when we were growing up, we thought, oh, it's just a matter of going to vote. Once you vote, you are okay. But who are the people? Even who are the beneficiaries of June 12? They were the ones who killed it. The same group of people came together and killed that dream. They were the beneficiaries.
That now, because you've talked a lot about what we are doing and what you are doing and all of that. How do you think Abiola would feel today, seeing all of you who sort of rallied behind him? Then after his death, a lot of people turned their backs and moved on to the government of the day. And do you think your position today, that's probably another question, is doing enough to sort of tackle these governments and challenge them to do better?
You see, there's a limit to what opposition can do.
Yeah, one of the opposition.
Yeah, I've always been in opposition. Yeah. I've never been in government, but there's a limit to what you can do. I came out in 2011. Even my own colleagues will tell me, oh, you are not qualified. You see, because Nigerians are used to people going into government, stealing money, and bringing the money back to a president. So that becomes a problem. So in the case of Abiola, even before he died, a lot of people told him to his face. I remember the last meeting we had in his house, immediately after Abacha's coup. Abacha's coup was November 17. I think about 3 days later. We were in his study. And Chief was telling people that he was going to issue a statement against Abacha. And I saw all the people who sat there, begging him, don't do that. You fought Babangida, you fought Shonekan. Why do you want to fight this one again? Let us do something. Abacha is a pro-democracy soldier. And that's what happens to leaders. I was there. And that night, he told me, he said I should go and conduct a research on Abacha's speeches. Because people were kept referring to it that if you listen to what Abacha has been saying, you will know that he will hand over to you eventually. So I went overnight and came back the following morning to deliver those materials. Chief took me into his bedroom. I could see that he was visibly worried. And he said, Dele, have you heard? I said, what? He said, Baba is leaving us. I said, which Baba? He said, Baba Gana Kingibe. I said, going where? He said, he has decided they've offered him ministerial appointment. I said, I said, Daddy, please don't listen to rumor. Because I know big people. People always bring all kinds of rumors. I believe it. But before I left there, his phone rang. And one of Baba Kingibe's friends called. And I'm sure they were trying to psych up Abiola. Then that evening, in his house, there was a big meeting where all the party leaders from SDP came. And everybody was standing up and talking. If we don't take the appointment, other people will take it. And that's another mentality